So you see how important property is in that situation, and how human personality and individual human existence really comes about as a result of the growth of property and money. Because it can't be property without having monetary calculation. Yes, Abby?
Yeah, with regards to what you're saying, it seems actually the dynamics would take place on a broader level, because what it would do is, in a sense, perturb the division of labour, because what you're talking about is from an individual's point of view for their own planning of action, but my plans of what I'm going to do with my life are affected by probably the plans of several other individuals in this room, and once they start changing, there's going to be chain reactions that take place.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think I was denying that.
Oh, no, it's just adding a
human
comment.
personality, I don't want to use the word collective sense, but human personality in the sense that it's common to all of us is what I was referring to.
That's it.
Yes?
Just going off the question 2 questions ago, where you were saying that with the inflation, like, people kept using money. If
Yes.
money is the most valuable commodity, you wouldn't need a state, right, to make the money. Like, if just people, the most valuable commodity, they would use that as money. Why in Germany did they continue to use the mark? Was it because of legal tender laws? Like, why wouldn't the most valuable commodity?
Well, they don't use the most valuable commodity. Money doesn't grow from the most valuable commodity, otherwise we would have diamonds or platinum or something.
Okay.
It's the most widely accepted commodity.
Okay.
And then there's a self-reinforcing process. As you come out of barter, and more people begin to use this, not just for direct use, but as money, other people see that, in fact, they can then specialize and be more successful in getting what they want by selling for this commodity that's now being used also for purposes of indirect exchange. And that reinforces it, so you have a spiral. And then, but then you have money, and people think in terms of marks and so on. So it's very difficult to supplant one money with another, unless there's an exchange rate. Now, people were using foreign currencies during hyperinflation, and they were pricing in terms of pounds and dollars. So after a while, as the hyperinflation progressed, the mark lost its function as a unit of account, and then as a store of value. But it still had the function of medium of exchange until the very end. At the end, I mean, the whole German money supply couldn't buy one egg. It's true. So the real value of money, fell to almost zero. But it didn't. I mean, they stopped the hyperinflation by saying we're going to have a new currency that'll be equal to one new mark will be equal to 1 trillion of the old mark. So it makes you realize how dependent you are on money, to see that even in these extreme situations, you don't get people just simply shifting. Okay, the functions break down one at a time. Store of value is the first to go, then unit of account, and then the medium of exchange still, which is the basic function of money, still exists. Yes.
Yeah, based on what you said tonight, it would seem that contrary to what Professor Murphy mentioned last night, that nobody is really in a position of having little or nothing to lose. So, as somebody else asked him last night, what can the average Joe do to try to protect himself against, this, which unfortunately is still only a possibility.
Right. Well, you don't want to jump the gun. I mean, but as economists, I think that's one thing that, as Austrian economists, we believe that hyperinflation is always a possibility when you have fiat money. And that once you see people losing confidence in the value of money, and it begins to snowball, as it did probably in the late 70s, early 80s, before the Volcker stepped in and reduced the rate of growth of the money supply. At that point, I mean, that's when you start investing in real values. I don't think we've reached that point yet, but again, given this ideology of doing anything to avoid deflation of even a few percent, there's that possibility that the Fed is just going to go off the deep end. They always talk about an exit strategy. Well, are they really going to sell those dump those mortgage-backed securities if the banks begin to loan that money out? Are they going to try to sop it up? Because what's going to happen to the mortgage market then? What's going to happen with other assets that they dump that are really, that's why we should audit the Fed, by the way. I mean, we really don't know the value of those assets that they hold.
This is not having to buy.
You know, well, that's the point. It's another reason. You know, the audit's going to show also what did they think the value of those assets were, and why did they pay over market price for them? Yes.
I was wondering if you could go into more detail about how property is destroyed by the loss of monetary calculation. Like, does that have any effect on how individuals subjectively value their possessions and property?
No, not directly, but a lot. Property itself, wealth, is held because it generates future satisfactions. So one good example might be the fact, might be the example of the bubble that we had. I had found some statistics that showed that household wealth increased in a matter of like 3 or 4 years. Household net worth, all the assets, including their financial assets and their real estate assets, increased something like 40 trillion to 60 trillion on that order in a few years. And when the collapse came, it started to move back down again. Now that meant that since 1952, household net worth had always been between 300 and 350% of GDP. So about 3 to 3.5 times, the wealth was 3 to 3.5 times income. Suddenly, from 2003 or 4, it jumped up to 450%, 4.5 times. So people thought that they were much richer. That had an effect on their behavior. That you see savings rates plummeting then to 1% and less, dipping less than 1%. Personal savings rates. So it was this monetary miscalculation about how much they had and what they could use it for in the future that brought about the enormous misallocation of resources and especially the overconsumption boom that we experienced in the end of the 1990s and then again from about 2002 to 2006. That's everyone going to malls and shopping and so on, like as Bob was talking about. That was part of that miscalculation of your property. The failure to really comprehend, I use the word comprehend, how much you had. Yes?
Do you think there's a real danger in the next, say, 10 years of the dollar being dumped as the global exchange currency?
I could see a movement away from it. If exchange rates continue to fall, I don't see China wanting to keep accumulating our securities, dollar-denominated securities.
What would replace it?
Euros or yuan or maybe a basket of different currencies. It's interesting that we're putting pressure on China to allow our currency to depreciate vis-a-vis theirs, right? Because they're holding the value of ours up so that they can export more to us. Okay, so on one hand we are fearful that they could dump these securities, but we're not fearful enough that we're going to stop them from bring about a situation where they allow it to depreciate. We want them to do that. It's a very short-run view. We want them to allow their currencies to strengthen or appreciate, so that we can sell them more and they'll sell us less to cure our short-run balance of trade problem. Other questions, comments? Okay, thank you.